Welcome to the RPO College Football Podcast. I'm your humble host, Jerome Jones, and I got my man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Ray Roberts in the flesh. How you doing, sir?
I'm good, Jerome. How are you?
I'm good, man. Hey, just the first full week with no college football, man. I don't know how I feel. I'm having withdrawals already, Ray. It's going to be a long offseason.
It's not a good night, man. I mean, usually on football, like Thursday, you were watching NFL and college, and right now we're watching nothing. So.
I know, and I have to admit, and this is not just me being an Eagles fan, and I know we got blown out, but these wildcard games have been really, really, really not good.
No, the 49ers game with Dallas was somewhat competitive, but that was probably the only one really.
Yeah, it was all blowouts. So like this weekend was just kind of a disappointment as far as football, but man, we got a lot to talk about. The draft is coming up. You guys already know how that's gonna be, but we're gonna talk about some early college football stuff before we get to that. So let's get right back. Just get right into it. We're gonna do our too early top 5 schools in 2022. So these are teams that we think are going to be in the top 5 this year, and obviously 4 of the top 5 until we get a new playoff system will be in the playoffs, right? So who do you think is going to be your top 5? Start with your number 5, and then I'll go to my number 5. And you keep alternating. Number 5, sir.
I got number 5. I got Texas A&M. I think we've been talking about thinking that they're going to be maybe more consistent than they were this past year. I mean, they were good this year, but they didn't play. They didn't have a lot of great, really, really, really good wins, except for, of course, the win against Alabama. But besides for that, they were really consistent. But yeah, I have them at number 5. I'm expecting good things from them, and number 4, I have Notre Dame. Got Marcus Freeman coming in. I think he's going to do a good job. I mean, I'm trying to be optimistic. I am, but I saw a lot of good things about them. If they could, get the offensive line to play a little better than they did this past year, I think they have the talent to be at least a top 5 team. I do. So, I got number 3. I got Georgia. I think that some people, I think really this is a good spot for them. Because do you think they're going to beat Alabama again next year? I don't think so. I think Alabama will be the best team in college football, not to jump from 3 to 1, but I think they have Bryce Young coming back, the best player in college football. So blah blah blah. So I got Ohio State number 2 though. I think Ryan Day has a bounce back season. I think Ohio State has a bounce back season. As we know, I'm not a huge Ohio State fan. But I think that they're going to be a good team again. And I if they're not at 2 or 3, I'd be really surprised because they're a talented team. So, and of course, I got Alabama number 1 for all the reasons I just said. They got the best player in college football. They got the best coach in college football. Like usual, they're going to be right there. So, I mean, you could argue 1, 2, 3 any way you want. 4 or 5, some people have Texas A&M above Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame's defense is a little bit better than Texas A&M, so that's why I have them a little bit higher. That's all.
Ray, you actually just said how I have my list. So I number 5, I have Notre Dame. I think that Notre Dame is going to be definitely a top 5 team this year. Would it be in the playoffs? It's going to be. We'll see. We'll see. I think y'all going to have a good team still. Kyron Williams won't be there anymore. But you do got a new coaching staff. Defensive-minded guy. I think their biggest problem this year was how your defenses started the year. They ended off very strong. So I really would like to see them get back to the 2019 season. 2020. Sorry, going too far back. The 2020 season where there was a very dominant defense. And I think they could get back to that, especially if you have a defensive-minded coach. He's going to be thinking defensive-minded, and, he's going to be able to protect the quarterback a little bit more over there. Number 4, I have Texas A&M. I mean, we've been talking about this all this season, and they were definitely a disappointing team. Even considering as disappointing they were, there was still a very good team. They beat Alabama this year. Very talented team, and a team that we think were going to be good. And they have some true freshmen that's going to come in and make some impact there with some very good talent there. So I think they're going to be number 4. Number 3, I have Ohio State. I mean, this might be just a little bit of my bias, but I just think that losing all those receivers they have, they still have we're gonna talk about this in a little bit, but they still got Jackson Smith Najamba. Is that
Yeah,
his name?
the job.
They're still gonna have him, but they had this year they had 3 receivers. Now they're gonna go down to 1. And they still have talent, highly recruited receivers, and still waiting in the wings. But we don't know how they're gonna play. So right now, I'm gonna pick them 3, and now I'm pick Georgia 2. Reason why I'm picking Georgia 2, I just think that now they're getting Stetson Bennett back. I think he's gonna be better this year. Still don't think he's gonna be like an all-star kind of NFL type of quarterback, but he's going to be good enough for what they do. Georgia always reloads on running backs. I'm not even worried about that. The biggest concern I do have for them is Georgia's defense is they're going to lose a lot of players on the defense. That's the only thing. But Georgia's recruiting been excellent the last few years. So I think that's not going to be the biggest problem for them. And obviously, number 1, I got Ohio. I'm sorry. Ooh, I was about to say Ohio State. And our user right here said Alabama. Yes, Alabama is going to be the number 1. My biggest concern with Alabama was that this year they didn't have a good offensive line with Evan Neal. Now they're not going to have Evan Neal. So I want to see how are they going to get better at the offensive line position, or were they, take another step back. But I do think that Bryce Young is going to have an even better year and having a year under his belt, and he's going to be a superstar, I believe. So, well, Ray, give me like 2 honorable mentions, because I got some. So I want to know, do you have any honorable mentions?
I mean, obviously I have Clemson. I think they'll be back in the loop this year, and I have Utah. I think Utah's a really good team. I think they're a good defense. I mean, of course, unless Jerome's picking them, then they lose. But yeah, but no, I got Clemson. I got Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State had they ended the season well with a win over Notre Dame. So I think any of them 3 teams have a shot to be a top 5 team. So
yeah, Ray, I'm mad you said that, because I was literally about to say Utah. I was gonna say Utah. I love Utah. You guys already know this, and I've been picking them every year this last year, and they were not doing good for me, so I stopped picking them. They were winning. They had a really good season at the end. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, their quarterback's still going to be back next year. So with that being said, with that defense, the way they ran their offense, I think they're going to be a top 8 team. I really do believe it. I think they're going to be one of the better West teams this year. Let's just say that. And then obviously my team, Michigan. I think we're still going to be a top team. Even with the losses on defense, I am very scared about that. But I am very optimistic with the offense that we have. I mean, we got some offensive weapons. I know that I'm blanking on his name. McNamara. I know that he's coming back, but honestly, I'm not too sure JJ McCaffrey is not going to start over him. I really ain't. I know if Harbaugh stay there, that's it. That is another thing right there. But if we do stay, I think that Harbaugh is gonna want JJ McCaffrey to start, and you can already kind of see that he keep putting him in the offense even when he fumbled that one game against Michigan State that cost us the game. But I think he's gonna want him to play. We got Blake Corum that's gonna be there. We got Brian Edwards gonna be there. I think we got another year with this really good receiving class that. They were just scratching the surface, I believe, because they are very, very young. So, and the offensive line, I still is going to, Michigan's offensive line always really good. So I really do think we're going to be coming back as a better offense. The defense is going to be the problem with that, with our team. But I do still think we're going to be a top 10 team, right?
Yeah, I agree. I think Michigan's a top 10 team. I just don't know. I do worry about Harbaugh. Taking a pro job and then seeing what happens there. I just don't know what the shakeout would be if that were to happen. I don't know. So
yeah, I'm still not 200% sure he's gonna go. I really don't. I know there's a lot of reports that saying he's interested, but I honestly, to be fair, it's like I'm not saying it because I think Harbaugh don't want to go. I'm not sure an NFL team really want him, to be honest.
I think it depends on what team you're talking about. I think there's a lot of reports about him maybe wanting to go to Chicago. I don't understand why anybody would want to go to Chicago right now. Their offense is a mess. Their defense is good.
I'm here more Raiders than anything.
I don't see him as a West Coast type coach. I mean, I know he was out with San Francisco. I think that if he's going to, I honestly think that if he had his druthers, he would go work for Miami.
Yeah,
I think because he has a relationship with Ross, but Ross is hell bent on not being the guy that pulls Harbaugh from Michigan. So I don't think that'll happen. I mean, if I were him, honestly, I don't know where I would want to go. I don't know. I don't see any one team where they're that talented where I would want to just go there.
Yeah, the only thing I think, honestly, I think Raiders have the best chance in my opinion, but I will have to see who the GM is.
I agree with that, and I do think the Raiders have talent, and I think they're in a division where they can compete for the playoffs. I mean, I don't know. It's weird. Like Kansas City's good, but they haven't really been playing consistent football for like a year and a half now. Even though they made a Super Bowl last year, they just really haven't played as well as they did 2 years ago. Since then,
you got to think that division's kind of tough too. Like
it is. You have the Chargers, who have a nice young quarterback and a solid defense, but they're still the Chargers. So I don't know. It depends. Like if you're Jim Harbaugh, do you want to go and work for a team with a nice young quarterback, or do you want to go to a team that can maybe win? I don't know if that team exists right now, to be honest with you. I don't think so.
That's true.
I mean, if I were a coach,
quarterbacks too.
Yeah, I mean, if I were a coach and I was an offensive mind like him, I think the prospect of working with the quarterback in Jacksonville would be interesting. I just don't know if you're going to win games with that team. They don't have a lot of talent on
it. I mean, unless you really fall in love with Trevor Lawrence, I mean, other than that, I can't see that either. I mean, you would have to really, and again, I can't see one singular college coach going into the NFL this year because there's not going to be the teams that have coaching vacancies are not really trying to get quarterbacks. It's not the year to get a quarterback. Unless you're going to like Jacksonville, like we said, and you really fall in love, you're in love with Trevor Lawrence, maybe, but that would be the only scenario, I think, to be honest. Even with the Raiders, like you got Derek Carr, you can move on from him, but like I usually tie in college coaches, especially offensive minded college coaches, getting their young quarterback to keep them there for a while.
Yeah, but here's the thing: if you're Jim Harbaugh, do you really want to work with Derek Carr right now? Don't you think he's on the other side of his career right now? I don't know if. I mean, I think Derek Carr is a good quarterback. I think he's really kind of an underrated quarterback. I do. Yeah. But I don't know if he's the head turner that a coach like Harbaugh is going to be attracted to. Yeah. I don't think he is. No, I don't know. Again, I don't think that team exists. And honestly, except for Jim Harbaugh, I don't think NFL teams are going to jump on college coaches anymore. I think Urban Meyer is going to leave a bad taste in NFL GM's mouth right now, dude. I think he'd be like, that was the number one guy. I would say Urban Meyer is the one guy in college that can step into the NFL. No, he can't. What people forgot is Urban Meyer is a sleazeball. And in the NFL, you're under a microscope every day, not just every month, every day. Okay.
What was your name for him? Urban
Liar.
There you go.
It's always been a liar. I'm just glad that I'm not related to him. Or, well, you know what? I guess maybe if he sends some money my way, I could be a cousin. I definitely wouldn't want to ever be married to him. I mean, because you know that guy, man. Talking to me. Remember, Jamie? I'm sorry, Drum. How long have we been having this talk about what a sleazeball Urban Meyer is, dude? 10 years?
Way too long.
10 years? Wasn't this a big debate? Me, you, and Ryan and Alan had like 6 years ago, 5 years ago. What a sleazeball this guy is. And do you really want him to be the face of your NFL franchise? I wouldn't even hire him as a college coach right now. I would.
I know we're kind of getting out of the college realm right now, but
we're not. Urban Meyer will never coach the NFL again. So if he's a coach, he's coaching in college. So
True.
Yeah.
But I know that when he got hired by the Jags, and it was like, but then in my eye, and I think I told you this, right? It solidified it for me when he drafted Travis Etienne and tried to make him a receiver. I was just like, the guy he's a running back that already had issues. Why would you have him in training camp as a wide receiver? Like, starting him out as a wide receiver, you need to help him make sure to keep the ball in his hands. Like, I didn't get that.
That and trying to pull Tim Tebow out of retirement at 33 and make him into an NFL tight end. That was brilliant too. But you know what, Jerome? Do you know how many people I heard say that Urban Meyer was the most qualified coach hired this offseason? Every talk show I listened to.
Ew.
They had at least one guy who said, "Oh, this guy's a good hire. You're going to watch and see. He's going to." Urban Meyer is a sleazeball. Okay, I'll leave it at that.
I'm not gonna, dude. I'm so sorry. I would 110% take the Eagles coach over.
Well, at least you know with Sirianni, he's going to be at least somewhat up front. Could you believe anything that comes out of Urban Meyer's mouth right now? Anybody?
No.
I mean, here's the thing: like, there's going to be a college team that's going to talk to him. It's going to happen. We already know that. The question will be, how high of a profile team will it be now? Because now, like, everyone's going to be watching this guy. I mean, because we talked about this last year or the year before about maybe, somebody, a good college team, and even Notre Dame at one point, even Michigan. We talked about maybe them saying, you know what, we're tired of losing. Let's get this guy in here and turn our program around. But right now, if you're going to he's a dog and pony show. I hate to say it, he's a dog and pony show, man.
Yeah, I mean, that was a crazy hire, man, and we'll definitely see what happens with this whole situation here, I guess.
I can't wait
with the college coaches, and if he comes back and if he doesn't. So yeah, that was earlier. That was my guy Joshua. So thanks, Joshua, for being on the chat room. And right now we got Remy. What's up, Remy? Remy says congratulations to Georgia. After 40 something years, they finally won something. Only took Alabama to lose their top offensive players to go out. I'm not gonna just say that. I'm not gonna take
any credit away from Georgia. I think we both talked about the fact that if we knew, the receivers were not going to both play, that we probably would have saw Georgia keeping it closer. I mean, obviously that was part of the outcome and part of the reason it happened. Again, but I'm not going to take anything away from Georgia.
I'm not. Yeah. I mean, hey, I know why Georgia won. It's me, man. I mean, I'm their good luck charm. I mean, the Braves won. Georgia Bulldogs won. I mean, it only happened the same year I came down here. I mean, it can't be coincidence, right? It can't be coincidence, right?
Can you do me a favor? Come up here and root for the Sixers a little bit harder, dude.
Okay, I'll come back.
All right, man, please.
Oh, man.
Can you do me one more favor? Can you trade Ben Simmons?
That's a whole new podcast for that one. We need a whole new podcast for that one.
We do.
Oh man. Speaking of replacing players, we're gonna be talking about replacing some of these superstars on these teams because man, there's some guys are leaving for the draft, and some teams and some fan bases are like, man, what are we gonna do with these guys out of our lineup? So let's talk about some of these underclassmen that declare for the draft and who is going to be replacing him. And we're going to start with Ray's team because I know Ray knows a little bit more about this than most people. Kyle Hamilton leaving for Notre Dame. Who is going to replace him? It's going to be a good draft. Good prospect to come in and replace him. Kyle Hamilton was a very good safety. Probably going to be a top 10 guy this year. Who is replacing him in that defense? And Johnny Dean, thank you so much for being on here. What's up? Good seeing you. And he also says, what's up to you, Ray? Thanks for being on, Johnny. Kyle Hamilton. Who's replacing Kyle Hamilton, Ray?
You know what? There's several different guys right now, Jerome. I don't know if there's any one guy. I think you're going to see different guys come in and try to replace him. I think they're going to probably change their defense a little bit, and that they play a little bit more single high than they have. Kyle Hamilton. To ask me who's going to replace Kyle Hamilton, nobody. Nobody's going to replace Kyle Hamilton. They're going to line up guys and hope that they can do the same job, but they're not going to. There's nobody going to replace Kyle Hamilton. It's not you are replacing a top 5 draft pick. That's hard as a safety to replace that guy. You're going to see them probably line up like more corners, maybe play a little bit more 3-4 corners at a time. I don't know. Kyle Hamilton did so much for your defense. He could play in the box. He could play out single high. He could play too high. I mean, he could do everything. You don't replace that guy with one guy. You do it with multiple players. So
100%. Yeah. I know a name that I see here by the name of Brandon Joseph. That's one of the top guys I could replace him. Do you know much about him, Ray?
Just that he's a transfer. I think he's really good. Again, he's not going to replace Kyle Hamilton. He's a good football player, and he's more of a he can play single high and he can play too deep, but I just don't know if he's not the athlete Kyle Hamilton is.
Yeah. Oh no, definitely not. So, and again, we just talked about this earlier. We think that Notre Dame's defense is going to be better this year and more consistent. But losing Kyle Hamilton is huge. I mean, he was your Derwin James, basically.
Right. I mean, Brandon Joseph is transferring from Northwestern. I mean, I've known about him going to Notre Dame for almost a month now. Ryan had been telling me for a while. He told me at one point, you can't say nothing, but this kid's going to probably transfer to Notre Dame when it's all said and done. And he's a good football player, but he's more of a physical tackling type guy, which is really, I think, here's the thing. He's not Kyle Hamilton, but I think he'll be better in Notre Dame system than he was in Northwestern system. Northwestern system asked him to play a lot of in-box safety, and really that's not his strength. He's a good tackler, and he can do it, but that's not his strength. He's more of a free safety.
Mm-hmm. So I'm that's going to be definitely curious to see how he plays out there. All right, let's get to our next replacement players because we got – let's get to this one because we got 2 right here, and obviously all you guys know. John Mechie and James Williams from the Alabama receivers. Obviously, both of those guys are going to be gone. Both had late injuries to their seasons, both not being able to finish out or even play in the national championship game. But both are declaring. Who's somebody that you can possibly replace them, right?
I don't think there's anybody on their roster that can replace either one of them, especially I don't know exactly what recruits they have coming in, Jerome, to be honest with you. A lot of that is going to be decided by the end of the month, and then really we'll have a better feeling for it after that. So,
yeah, and they're not even going to have the other guy. Oh, man, I'm blanking on his name. But the receiver they have, the no offense, the white receiver they have, I forgot his name. I'm so sorry. But I know they're looking really highly of Jacory Brooks, one of their receivers. He mostly played special teams last year. He had 15 tackles for 192 yards and 2 touchdowns as a true freshman this year. So I think he's going to be one of their guys. But, I mean, it's going to probably be – honestly, it's probably going to be, by committee until they find somebody that's going to actually emerge. And I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere to get a transfer in somewhere somehow.
Well, I think that's where you're going to see like the transfer portal where some teams will probably try to fill out their roster with some of that. I think that when you have guys that talented, it's hard to replace them. I think Jacory Brooks will be one of the guys they try to lean on. Yeah. But again, until you see how he plays and see him get the production on the field, you don't really know. So,
Yeah, definitely. All right, next guy I want to talk about is a guy that I hope that the Eagles somehow get him, because Eagles have been needing a linebacker for a while, and that's Georgia's linebacker, Nakobe Dean. This guy was going crazy on Michigan, man. And I knew about him way before that, obviously, but he was going crazy on Michigan. And I would love the Eagles get a fast, instinctive linebacker like that. But he's leaving Georgia. And most people think that his replacement is most likely going to be Noah Smith. Noah Smith is the guy that we interviewed from IG Academy a few years ago when he was in high school. Ray, what do you think he's a good replacement for him? And if not,
I think he will be given the first shot, and I think he's a good physical player. I think where you're going to have a hard time is Nakobe Dean was so good in coverage. I don't know if you're going to replace that guy, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about replacing these guys like we're going to bring in somebody who plays exactly like they do. Nakobe Dean, coverage-wise, is a special player. Now, he's not a downhill thumper, so if you want your linebacker to be that guy, he's not that. But and you could find somebody who will do what he did in the run game, maybe even better. But in the pass game, covering tight ends and backside backfield, that's where you're going to really miss Nakobe Dean. So
and the only issue I have with Noah Smith is more of an edge rusher linebacker. He's a traditional thumping middle linebacker like Dean was. So replacement, maybe you can slide him in the middle, see how he does there, and instead of just being straight, edge rusher. I mean, that's what Michael Parsons did, and I'm not saying that they're the same kind of athletes, but it could work out for them.
They're not the same.
That's not yet. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying. No. But you can possibly do that with certain players.
Noah Smith is a good edge type of an outside linebacker. He is good. Again, and I think as far as being a guy who does some things in pass coverage, I think he'll be okay. He's not going to be Nakobe Dean, though. That's the problem. You know?
No, not at all. Next guy, and he's going to be on the Alabama as well. And we talked about it a little bit earlier, too. Evan Neal. Evan Neal is going to be leaving that Alabama's offensive line. The offensive line that struggle, and this guy's going to be a top 5 pick, I think, in this upcoming draft. So Evan Neal is going to get replaced. You got to have someone to replace him. Is there somebody to replace him on his O-line? I mean, two guys that I have here, JC
Latham and Tommy Brockermeyer.
Yeah.
They're both guys, both 5-star prospects. They're going to be given first shot.
Correct.
I think in Latham, I am a huge Latham fan. I think he's really, really good. I think if I had to, because of the length he has, I would go with him first and then see what happens. But these guys are both talented football players. And Evan Neal's really good. Like you said, he's going to be a top 10 pick. So, again, replacing that guy after midseason won't be that hard. Replacing him in the beginning of the season and getting a guy that'd be consistent, and because we know offensive linemen are not wide receivers, are not corners. To a certain extent, they're not even linebackers or safeties. These guys have to work, all 5 have to work together. You could be in the secondary and one of your guys blows the coverage, but the other guy takes up for him. If your offensive line is not on the same page, you're going to get somebody killed.
Yeah, and that's going to be tough with the Alabama offensive line. So that's going to be definitely something we're going to be looking through in the 2022 season, that offensive line. But I think Alabama is going to be able to replenish really well. They got some good recruits, good players that were there. Obviously, they still got the quarterback. It's just that offensive line is going to be very, very interesting to see. So we'll definitely see that. Last but not least, we're going to get to the Ohio State. They are losing Gary Wilson and Chris Olave. As we all know already, they had a three-headed monster. So Jackson Smith, Najaba, we talked about earlier, Najiba, he's going to be their number one guy. Do you think he's going to be enough to replace the production of these the two other guys? What's your thought on that, right?
I think that one of them will replace. I think Jackson Smith, I hate this name, Njiba, is going to be really, really good, but that's only replacing one guy, not both of them. So,
yeah. Do you think he's going to be a better prospect than the other two? I mean, he looked really good this year.
I do.
Third receiver.
I do. I really like him. I think he's going to be really good.
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah, I like him a lot too. But I would like to see him not be the guy. I mean, we see in a lot of cases where, a receiver will look really good because he got somebody right next to him, and then once that player kind of goes away, now their production goes down. I mean, you can look at Calvin Ridley in Atlanta at this point. Julio Jones left, and then he played very poorly, in which he just was like, yeah, I don't want to play anymore. But situations like that where you lose good players and now you're the main focal point and teams can double you up. I'm very curious to see how he kind of still plays through that.
I think that what you're going to see, though, is you're going to see where he is going to be the main guy, and you don't have there's no two-headed monster now. So you may see him be more productive than both of these guys.
Yeah, and honestly, sometimes that happens too. That's another scenario that happens too. Sometimes you are the guy, and it kind of brings out the better in you.
I mean, we both, if fantasy football doesn't tell you anything, it tells you about how many times a player gets targeted. So this guy is going to go from Olave and Wilson were getting 10 targets a game. This guy's going to get 15 or 20. So imagine if he is, and he's, he had a good year this year. He did miss some time, but he had a really pretty productive year this year. So I think he's going to be really good. And I think he may be better than the other two guys. I like Garrett Wilson a lot. And I think Olave has an upside as a route runner, not an exceptional athlete, though. Just a real good, solid athlete and a good route runner. Where Anabi, I think he's a better athlete than both of the other guys, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I do.
Definitely looking forward to that, though. Definitely looking forward to it, as long as it's not against the Michigan. But
well, here's a funny thought. Yeah, I don't know if you've looked. Do you know who Ohio State leads off the season with?
Oh man, yeah.
Who is the one team in college football that doesn't frown from competition, brother?
Oh, we're playing Notre Dame.
Yes, they are.
Interesting. Go ND.
Right.
Go ND.
Right.
I don't like either team, but go ND.
But, well, I mean, the one good thing is again, that's a tough game to start the season off. Yeah, and I just hope that Ohio State fans are looking at it the same way, that it's going to be a tough game. We'll pick the game when it comes up, but where I'm hoping that they realize it. It says a lot about both programs, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You start a season off with a game against 2 top 5 or 2 top 10 teams. That's great. I love it. I can't wait already.
That was the what was the first game this year? Clemson and who did they play? Was it North Carolina? No.
No, Clemson was it? I don't remember that. It was a good. I remember it was a good game.
Was that Ohio State? No, that wasn't Ohio State. Who did they play? Man, it was a game. I remember Clemson. I know Clemson lost.
It was against somebody really good. I do remember that. I don't remember who it was. Man, you're talking about 6 months ago now, Jerome.
No, that's gonna drive me crazy, Ray.
Well, I'm going to look it up right now as we speak, actually.
All right, cool. But while you're looking at it, I do want to give a little shout out. Totally not college football related.
Oh,
sort of.
Georgia.
There you go.
Georgia.
Yeah. So a game like that, where you got one good game, at least one really good game. to look forward for week one. That it's always fun to have those. But real quick, I just wanted to shout out because we were talking about wide receivers and it kind of just popped in my mind. Shout out to Cooper Kupp. I mean, I remember in the draft that he was in. Your son Ryan told me about him. I looked at tape of him and I was like, dude, this guy is nice. I want him to be on the Eagles. Shout out to Cooper Kupp because a lot of people also were saying how he was product of the system. He was a product of, the other receivers they had, and he really showed that he was a number one guy this year. So shout out to Cooper Kupp with the triple crown this year. That was an amazing feat. I love watching receivers that, got to get. You look at it in the draft and you're just like, dude, why can't I have that receiver? And Eagles didn't pick him up, but shout out to Cooper Kupp, man.
Oh, that's all right, though, man. They got Jalen Reagor.
That's not funny. That's not funny.
You're the only one laughing right now, man.
That was yeah. Shout out to Jalen Reagor. Terrible pick. I mean, anyway,
you don't want to get into why a guy caught 40-some balls in college and then the Eagles picked him in the top 10, right? Oh, I'm sorry, top 20. Caught 43 balls at his little college that he played at, and they drafted him in the top 20. I mean, like
the worst part is the person that got picked right after him.
Well, that's always the worst part, especially when one guy goes to LSU. But that's okay, and they're playing an offense where they're setting record week after week and week. But that's all right. We're going to take Jalen Reagor because he's fast.
They're both fast, though. Anyway, talking about NFL draft prospects, we're going to get into some guys.
Can't wait.
Declared for the 2022 draft pick declaration. And the my Eagles got 3 draft picks. So I'm hoping that we don't do a regular year. I hope we don't do a regular because it don't seem like Howie's going anywhere. It's hard. It's hard for me. But let's talk about some guys.
I can't wait. I'm already hearing it. I've already heard it. Will the Eagles draft a linebacker in the first round this year? The answer is indubitably no.
We need to, though. It's no way you can look at our linebackers and be like, yeah, I'm okay with this. It's no way. It's no way. It's absolutely no way. But anyway.
Kobe Dean is there. They're going to draft
Dude, it's going to be him and Devin Lloyd there.
Yes.
I'll take any one of them.
And they're going to take a wide receiver from TCU now.
Oh my goodness.
The bad thing is you need a wide receiver too, though.
We do. All right, let's talk about some players, and let's talk about some players that are declaring, and let's go with some. Let's start with some guys that you are excited that declared. So Ray, I gave you a list. On that list, give me like 2 or 3 people that you're excited to.
I don't see the list, Jerome. Where did you send it?
You didn't send the list. Oh, I sent you a link. All right, it's cool. All right, I'll start off. If you look in our private chat, it's in there. The link is in there. I'll send it again if you want me to.
So it should be in the crew one?
No. It's in the in this StreamYard. StreamYard private chat.
StreamYard. Okay.
Anyway.
You know how bad I am with this stuff, Jerome.
I know. I will send it to you now. But on the top of your head, then Ray, until I send this to you, is there anybody that that declared that you're excited about?
I mean, not right off the top of my head. I don't know where everybody is going to.
Let me read some names off to you.
Yeah, I'm listening.
Nick Benito from Oklahoma. Andrew Booth declared. Kennedy Brooks.
Believe it or not, Jerome, I am an Andy Booth fan. I like him a lot, actually.
Yeah, I see a lot of mock drafts that the Eagles can get him in the first round. I would not be mad about that. Nick Cross from Maryland. We got Dean, who we just talking about. Jerry Early, Kyer Elam,
Um, I wish I knew like Miami needs offensive linemen. They need a running back. They need wide receivers. The crazy thing is, most of their needs are on offense. But I mean, there's no way they're going to get Evan Neal. He would be a guy I would love to get. I just don't know if they're going to be in a good spot to get him, to be honest with you. That's the problem, honestly. I'm actually trying to see if I can find some of the guys now.
Yeah, I'm sending it to you.
Okay.
I'm sending it to you. I'm sending it through.
I mean, you don't want to just talk about the obvious ones like the Hutchinsons and all them guys, right?
Yeah, you can talk about them.
All right. Well, I mean, I think that Aiden Hutchinson is going to be a top 5 pick. I do. Yeah. I think Thibodeau is going to be a top 5 pick. I think Kyle Hamilton is the one guy who he's a defensive back. So in some people's minds, oh, there it is. Okay. Some people's minds, he may be a luxury pick, but I think that if you need a safety, he's a safety. You can do everything. You can bring him up and let him play pass coverage. And run as a run player, he can drop back and play one single high, 2 deep. He can do pretty much everything. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of guys here. Alec Anderson, I offensive tackle for UCLA, I really like.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm gonna name a couple of names that stick out to me. Obviously, number one of them I really like, and in a sense, I kind of hope the Eagles can get him because Jason Kelsey's about to retire, and that's Tyler Lindenboff. I would love him on our offensive line, man. And I seen some mocks with him. Obviously I watched him from playing on Iowa. I knew about him for a couple of years. I think he's going to be a guy that I'll keep an eye on. Drake London, I know he's coming off an injury, but I loved him. Like, if he didn't have that injury, he still had that same production he was having all year, he'll be a receiver that I'll have in like my top 2 or 3 receivers in this draft. Drake London, this is coming from somebody that do not trust UNC receivers. I do not trust UNC receivers. But Drake London is the one I will trust this year because USC receivers been doing me wrong the last couple of years. Sincere McCormick, a guy that I'm very intrigued by in the smaller school, UTSA, a guy that was very, very productive over there. I mean, he was basically their offense. I really liked him. Sky Moore's another receiver that I'm very interested in West Michigan, and a lot of people don't know about him. Evan Neal, a guy that I got to interview in person. The kid was towering over me. We all know he's gonna be a top 3, 4, 5 pick in this draft. Any other guys that you're seeing right now?
I like Jackson Kirkland, offensive lineman from Washington, a lot. If I were the Eagles. Mm-hmm. Or Miami, anybody who needs a center. I like Tyler Linderbaum a lot from Iowa. I think when Kelsey were to retire, he's a guy that can step in and play like Kelsey does for them now, doing a lot of outside zone, pulling as a center, which is not traditionally what centers do, but Linderbaum can do that. Kelsey's really good at it. If you watch Kelsey play this past week, I'm not going to kill him, and some people were killing him because he got beat up a little bit.
I'm sorry, but that kid, Vita Vea,
Vita Vea is the real deal, man. That's all.
That dude is a beast. I'm sorry. Like, I know Kelsey is a Hall of Fame center, but Kelsey's still undersized, and that man Vita Vea is something different. Like, that dude.
The mistake there was not double teaming Vita Vea.
I agree.
That was the mistake. If you really thought Kelsey, no, man, we all know how good Travis Kelsey is. As far as getting out and moving and getting to the second level, he may be at his best center in football. But as far as taking on a guy like Vita Vea by himself, man, that's just not his game. And to expect him to do that in a playoff game was probably one of the worst coaching moves that the Eagles did this week. I mean, how much I hate Tom Brady, man. I was hoping. But I knew The Eagles' formula was to get a lead and play your run game with the lead. Once you got down by 2 scores, I'm sorry to say, man, the game was over. So,
I 100% agree. I really do. So I agree with that. So Ray, let's name some players that we were surprised that came out to the draft, and I'll start this one off. I'm gonna start off with my guy from Michigan, Mr. Oh, I'm blanking on his name. Maybe I have to find his name real quick. But
what position?
Our defensive tackle, Hinton.
Oh, okay.
Christopher Hinton. I think he could have like stayed another year and got a little bit more better and could have stayed. I kind of wish that he stayed in that defense. I think he could have grown a little bit more. I think he's probably going to be a mid-round pick. And he could have kind of. I think he's good, and I think he's good. I just think that he could have benefited was coming back. Another guy that I'm gonna say is 2 receivers. One is gonna be the receiver from Clemson. What's his name? Justin Ross. I think Justin Ross should have stayed. I really do. It just a strong wide receiver class. I think he could have benefited with staying back and definitely, improving his stock. And I'm not sure how good the receiver class for next year is either. Still could be another really good one, but I just think that he could have benefited from staying. He wasn't overly greatly productive, and I think he was a little bit overhyped, in a sense. And they had, you already know Clemson had a bad year this year, so I think he could have benefited from staying. And then the receiver from trying to find his name on here. This list is so long. But go ahead, Ray. While I'm looking for him, go ahead. You can go with your guys.
I mean, I just think that like Kalen Tolson, the linebacker from Illinois, I think he's a little undersized. I think that if he'd have stayed and got a little bit stronger, probably would have done him some good. There are like guys like Bryce Wyatt from UMass, who I think that if I could have, this is a strong year for corners. If, like you said, with wide receivers, if you're a wide receiver or a corner and you're on the fence this year, I probably would come back and play one more year of college football. I just think that like it's a really deep class in them 2 positions, especially. If you could have stayed one more year, probably would have put you in a little bit of a better spot. Mm-hmm. They're really the 2 that like stand out to me, like guys that I would have rather seen stay. Mm-hmm. Again, I'm not sure exactly who is coming out and who is not.
Yeah, I got my guy. No, I just found him. Kenny Pickett from Georgia. I think he could have definitely benefited from staying. Because again, he's very similar to the Clemson receiver. I think Justin Ross. I think that one, they're in a more run-oriented team that was predicated on the defense as well. He's gonna have stability with this quarterback who knows him, and I think that he could have benefited a little bit by staying. I think so with this deep class.
I agree with you. I think Drake London is a guy from USC who I know. I'm not even sure how many years if he has eligibility left, but again,
I think he got one more.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, if I had any time left, and it's a really deep class for wide receivers, I just think that, like, if you're a guy who is on that borderline, like, you don't want to go undrafted, do you? Because that could be what's going to happen with some of these wide receivers and even a couple of these corners. I mean, and corners are a position where teams like to jump on them because, I mean, I always have my things where I kind of kid about corners, but to me, corners rounds 2 and 3 through 5 and 6 are where I get my corners that are a little bit more developmental. Maybe they're a scheme fit for my team. I just think that you need depth at corner more than anything else. Mm-hmm. I just don't know, like, if you're a guy who could, if you had any eligibility and I could have came back and played, even Daxton Hill from Michigan.
I was literally
I probably would have played at Michigan for one more year because next year, if I have another good year, I'm a first round pick. Now you're a third or a fourth round pick, really.
I don't think he'll be that low, Ray. I think he can be like a late second round pick. But I was literally about to say that because that's a player that, you know, although I'm not sure how he's gonna do as far as getting drafted, because I think that he could have benefited from having more tape. But I'm super excited about him because I think he's still got a lot of raw potential. And it's a lot of that when I come with the Michigan team, a lot of players, like, I feel like sometimes they don't always get their full potential and they come to the NFL play really well. So I don't know. Again, I don't think he had his full potential and he had enough on film to be like, oh yeah, this guy's really, really good. Like, I'm not gonna say he's a Kyle Hamilton, but like he'll be like one of those top safeties, I think, if he would stay like one more year.
I think because of the depth at the position, I think that one more year would have did him in some good. If he has another good year, he's no worse than the second round pick. There's no way he's going to go lower than that. But right now, again, because of the depth, and not because he's not a good player, because he is.
Yeah, he is.
It's because of the depth at the position. There are right now, I have 29 draftable corners right now.
Yeah.
29. That's a lot, man.
Yeah. And did you notice that they have him listed as a corner, not a safety?
I did notice that. Well, you know what, though? Honestly, that would be the one thing I like that if I were him. Yeah. Like, because that's telling you that I'm versatile. I could play outside. Yeah. I could play in the slot. I could maybe move and play some free safety for you. That makes him more valuable. That, to me, is a good thing. Like, if I were him, I would want to go in and say, no, that's right. You guys are right. I'm not a corner. I'm not a safety. I'm a football player. Let me play in your secondary, and I'll make plays for you.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, right? That's a very good point. But that's going to do it for us today, man. I can't wait till we really dive into these draft classes, man. And, guys, you already know we're going to be diving into the Senior Bowl. If you don't know already, we're going to be at the Senior Bowl this year. So make sure you check us out at the end of this month. 2 more weeks. I can't wait. I'm going to be super excited. For our next RPO podcast, we're going to be diving into the Senior Bowl. The rosters are filling in. We got like a good maybe like 80% of the rosters and who's going to be there. And obviously there's still late add-ins that's going to be coming on. So we're going to be talking all that next time on the RPO podcast. We're going to have most likely try to see if we can get Mr. Jacob on here so he can talk as well. Me and Jacob's going to be down there as well, also with Chris Thomas from Inside the Hatches. So that's going to be an exciting time. We always decided to be down there, but guys, make sure you check us out on all our social medias. Inside the Hatches at Inside the Hatches on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. We find all our player interviews on there. A lot of players that we interview are going to be at the Senior Bowl. A lot of them is going to be in the draft. So make sure you check that out, InsideTheHatches.com or Inside the Hatches on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. And it is on Inside the Hatches website, InsideTheHatches.com as well. We find all our content in there as well. Also, make sure you check out all our social medias, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. But most importantly, hit that like and subscribe on YouTube because that's going to help us out and support us the most. So make sure you go on that YouTube channel, hit that like and subscribe. And if you want to see us go live, I know a lot of people can't watch us live, but if you want to know when we do go live, hit that notification button on that YouTube channel so you can know when we go live. So you can have live interactions with us, like our guys on here, Johnny Dean, Joe, and who was the other one? Sorry, I'm forgetting names. Remy. There you go, Remy. Yeah. So thank you guys for being on for sure. But make sure you go in there, hit that notification button so you do know when we go live. But Ray, before we get off, you got any parting words, man? I know you're excited about the draft, man.
Yeah, I've already started my short list of like quarterbacks and running backs. I'll be honest with you, man. I'm done talking about college football from last year. I'm ready to move on to the draft. I am, man. It's over. It's over. Yeah. But before we get off, I want to show anybody who is interested in, of course, this is just me being a proud grandfather. You know, this is my granddaughter. This is Ryan's little girl. And I got a picture from her the other day.
And she is huge.
that right there is what it's all about for me. So,
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And make sure your t-shirt all about football, baby. So we get
don't worry.
Around.
She already has more Notre Dame clothes than I do, man. So.
Oh my goodness, that is funny. That's too funny. That's amazing. That's amazing. Hey, I'm gonna have to send some Michigan stuff over too.
There you go. We do need something to start the fire with,
Good one. But anyway, guys, thank you for being on, Ray. Always appreciate you getting on and being with me.
You too, man.
For sure. But guys, make sure you check us out next week. We will be talking some Senior Bowl stuff. The week after that, we will not have a RPO podcast. We will be at the Senior Bowl, so we will have live content from the Senior Bowl. So make sure you check all that out. So again, make sure you're going on social media so you can see all that great and cool stuff that we will be having at the Senior Bowl. So
one more thing, Jerome. I want to say one more thing really quickly. Let's get ready, gentlemen, for the worst quarterback class maybe ever.
Yeah, that's the one thing I'm concerned about the Senior Bowl. I don't know how bad or good it's gonna be. Last year,
I listened to Harry Roseman's press conference today. Did you?
Yeah.
He's all in on Jalen Hurts. So let's face it, he has no choice but to be in on Jalen Hurts for right now, dude. He has no choice.
Yeah, you're right.
He really doesn't. I mean, either you bring in one of these free agent older guys that want to play somewhere else now, or you just ride with this kid for one more year and see how things go.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Because we gotta build that team and build that defense mostly. And I can't see us getting a quarterback that early. We gotta go defense. Oh, and defense. I would not be mad at 3 defense. I do like like I said, with the living boss guy. I do like him. I think that I would love him to be a guy that we could get in between one of those first round picks. But
I really think that if they will draft a wide receiver in the first round, if they're smart, Trayvon Burks, dude.
I think we can get one in the second round, Ray.
You can.
This is good.
You can get one. You do. You get one in the third round. Get one in the fourth round. Can you get one that plays? Can you get one that plays this year, and is productive for you?
Again,
you like
not be mad.
The good thing with the Eagles is plus you need an edge player. You need a linebacker, you need an edge, and you need a defensive back. Now, they would be the players I took in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
But we know how he's going to screw up somewhere with one of them picks. I mean, I shouldn't talk. My team's one of the worst with screwing up.
You're going to draft a tight end in the first round.
No, dude. You don't. The one position you don't really need is a tight end, dude. To be honest with you.
I know. And he's going to somehow be like, oh, but, we wanted to get somebody for Jalen Hurts. You know how he is.
You know what, though, man? If you have Jalen Hurts, a 2 tight end system where a nice strong run game would not be a bad idea.
No, you're right. You are right. But, But anyway, that's going to do it for us, guys. Thank you so much for checking us out. We're going to see you next time. We're going to talk more draft, man. You're going to see how I'm going to be stressing out the entire offseason about these 3 first-round picks. But so if you want to watch me stress out,
man, at least you have a coach.
At
least you have a coach.
I guess.
So looking for a coach.
I guess.
Nah, your coach.
You want to call him a coach?
He's fine.
He's all right.
He's a young guy, man. He's fine.
Yeah.
I would not be if I had Rick Sirianni coming off the year that he had this year. I'd probably be fairly excited. I would be more worried about the GM and my doing thing, and not the. You need to change the defensive coordinator, dude. There's someone with more experience.
Ray, I'm not gonna lie. I'm kind of hoping he gets that head coaching job.
Yeah. If you had a strong defensive mind to what I think is a pretty bright coach, I know people were upset about his press conferences, dude. You got to read through the lines with this coach. He's one of them guys who wants to come off as a common guy football coach, and he is, but he's also fairly intelligent when you really listen to what he says.
Definitely. No, you're right.
So, I like Sirianni. I think he did a good job.
We'll see.
All right, man. We'll see.
Thanks, guys. Y'all have a good one, and we'll see you next week.